Hey there everybody, happy belated new year, happy 2021, and welcome to our brand new town of Amity. I released a little trailer to this town a couple of days ago that was just a little edited sweep over the town, sort of give you a feel for what you're going to be seeing in this series. And I want to give you a tour of the town today. But before we get started with that, I want to take a few minutes to explain the basic concept of what I'm going for here. And I don't just mean the atmosphere of the city, I mean the gameplay itself. So, what does that mean in practical terms? That means that for a while I've been wanting to experiment with the more creative side of this game, and I know there's lots of YouTubers who get really into the finer details of a city, right? And they have all these mods and they really try to make it realistic, and they really create incredible works of art with this game, right? And I wanted to dive into that. And at the same time, I didn't want to give up on the basic fundamentals of the game. Most YouTubers, when they do that, they turn on unlimited money and unlimited resources and unlock all the milestones right away, and they just start bang boom building a huge city, right? And so then every episode you watch sort of has an unfinished feel to it in a way, right? Because they're creating one neighborhood at a time, one street at a time, one building at a time, but they're creating a city they're already trying to envision the city sort of in its final stages as a final product. And I really like the concept of being able to watch a city grow. And I like that the game has that built into it with the milestones, with the fact that you have a budget you have to manage. And that forces the city to grow somewhat organically, right? Because as it grows, you have to shift around certain things. You have to broaden streets, which requires that you move certain buildings. You have to repurpose certain neighborhoods, right? To accommodate what the city is becoming. And that sort of helps give the city some of its character, I think. So in this series, what I'm going for, as you can see here, is small American town to start out with. And for now, we're in fall, right? We're in the autumn. That could very well change in the future. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to be able to find a way. I know that there's mods that'll let me change the theme and the whole look of things in the game, right? So maybe I'll be able to switch that, and a few episodes down the road, we can look at this game in summer and in winter, and we'll see how that goes. But the basic idea here is that I wanted to build a town that has all of that detail and all of that art in it that other YouTubers like to create, and really get down into the nitty-gritty details. But then I want to still be able to watch the city expand, and I want to do that by using the actual functions of the game. That means that I am on a budget. I have not put on unlimited money, right? So I am still managing a budget. I am still moving through the milestones. I even still have natural disasters turned on. Now, this is kind of a question for you guys. What do you think with the natural disasters? Because I know that some of them are just so unrealistic, it's almost painful to keep them on, right? Like a meteor strike, or it'd be really weird on this map to have some kind of tsunami out of nowhere. But I do want to have them on in some capacity. So, the question is, do you guys want me to turn down the frequency so that hopefully we don't get them too often to make it a little bit more realistic? Or should I just leave it as it is? Or I don't know, maybe there's another solution out there that'll let me remove some specific disasters from the game to make sure that a meteor doesn't strike or something like that. So let me know what you think about that plan in the comments below specifically. I'm curious to know what you guys think. But I definitely do want to leave disasters on because those will impact the town and help shape its growth. Now, what does that actually mean for our series, this plan? It means that every episode that I put out and that you guys watch, like you are right now, every episode you're going to see a complete product already in and of itself, right? I am not, what you're seeing now is not a small part of what's going to be a bigger city, but this is going to stay the same, you know what I mean? This, even what you're looking at right now, is going to change as the city grows. I will be deleting some things and redoing certain parts of the city, repurposing areas as they need to be repurposed. So every episode you watch is going to be the same town, the same city in its next phase of development. Know what I mean? And I don't know for sure if that means that I'm going to be doing a video every time we hit a new milestone. I'm kind of leaning against that because I want to be able to stay flexible. At the beginning, that might be a decent idea, but we'll have to see. But every episode you see is just going to be the same city at a new phase of growth. So it'll be, every time you see it, it'll be a little bit bigger. It'll take up a little bit more space on the map. But it will also have all the same areas repurposed and reshaped. And so you'll see this water tower, for example, will probably be around for several episodes, right, before that ever goes away. And so you'll see familiar things in the town from past episodes. But other things in the town will have changed and grown and shifted like they would organically in real life. So that's basically what we're going for here, and I'm sort of excited to dive into it. And basically I just plan on going until my computer can't handle it anymore, right? So far it's doing okay. I don't know even how amazing my computer is at this kind of stuff, but I want to sort of test it, take it to the limit. We'll see what happens. I might have to turn down some of the graphics capabilities as we move on, just so we can keep going. But yeah, for now, this is Amity. And let's get started on our tour for episode 1. So, this is Amity from above, as you can see. This is a really wonderful map I found on the workshop, and I'm going to link it in the description below in case anybody else wants to fiddle with it a little bit. And what I really liked about it was that this was the starting square. I really like the idea of starting this tiny little town on these more national highway kind of roads, these sort of smaller highways, right? Because this is not the main highway. If we come out here a little further, the main highway is all the way back here. And I feel like that's really, and actually in the description of the map, they even said that this is that was sort of the point, right? Is that there's lots of places in America where little towns pop up in places like this, along these smaller highways, right? They're a little bit harder to get to, a little bit more, out in the countryside. And I really like this winding river. I think that's going to add a lot of cool character to the city as it grows. So yeah, just all in all, I thought it was a really great map. I've played around with the map theme mixer a little bit, so it looks a bit different than it's going to look if you just pull it right off of the workshop. Obviously, I changed all the trees to make this more of a fall setting, and yeah, I've changed some of the textures and everything from a couple of different other map themes, but I haven't done too much. I haven't done any terraforming or any like series map editing like that myself. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff. So at least for now, maybe someday I'll dive into it. But I didn't want to get too deep into that kind of stuff on this build just yet. I wanted something that was going to fit exactly what I wanted, and that's pretty much just this map right now. So the idea is that it's just starting out as a very small, very dirty, backwoods kind of town, and I did a little bit of thinking about maybe why there would even be a town here, why it popped up exactly, and I don't have like a real great answer even right now. I thought about sort of turning this into something that already felt a bit like a farm community, but there was a couple of problems with that. One, it's sort of hard to artificially create that completely with decals and mods and everything, and I wanted to stick to our timeline with unlocking the milestones, right? And you don't get to farming industry for 2 or 3 milestones. So I didn't really want to dive into that right away. I also wasn't sure, I couldn't really guess properly exactly how much industrial demand we would have with this small of a town. So I didn't want to create like a whole big industrial zone anywhere that would make it feel like the town popped up around that or anything like that. So either this is a town that used to be a little bit bigger and it's just really fallen into decay. That's one sort of option. The other option is that, this gas station here was a, fairly common rest stop used by truckers and things along this highway, and that the town sort of sprang up around that. Right? That can be sort of one potential story. The other idea I had was that I do have a slightly wealthier side of town, right? Where, I'm assuming that these are richer people that moved here from a city that's a few hours away, and they wanted to get out and live in the country and have a big plot of land to themselves, and so they moved out here, built their nice houses, and then the community sort of built up around them, right? They probably funded the creation of the basic infrastructure like this water tower. They probably own some of these stores here downtown, and so most of the people here in town probably work directly or indirectly for them, right? So those are some of the ideas that I had. Maybe you guys have a cooler story to tell when you look at this. If you do, definitely let me know, because I'm curious myself. I feel like the town sort of has a life of its own that's not necessarily exactly what I planned in my head. So yeah, let me know if you see something completely different maybe. So just to give you sort of a brief little tour of the town itself, the town is basically built around the intersection between these two main roads here. And you could see when I was given my explanation before and we were in first person mode, we were looking down on this little intersection right here from about this angle, right? Somewhere over here. So that's sort of the main intersection in town, and I sort of built everything around that. And a curious little tidbit here, I was trying to think of a name for the city, and this road here actually popped up with the computer-generated name of Amity Street. And I saw that, and I was like, Amity. I even felt like maybe I'd heard that before somewhere, and I'm not sure exactly where. I looked it up on Google Maps, and there are a couple of towns in America called Amity. They're small towns. I've never heard of them or anything like that, so I don't even know exactly what inspired me with the name, but I read it on the street, and I was like, that's a great name, and it makes sense for a super small town like this to have the same name as its main street, right? I think that just works. The one thing though is that Amity is such an interesting name because it almost demands that you say a state after it, right? It's like Amity, North Carolina, Amity, Wisconsin, right? It sounds almost strange just to say Amity. It's like one of those names that sort of you feel like should have a state behind it, but this one is just Amity. We're gonna leave the state blank for now. You can fill it in however you want to. So this main street here is called Amity, and it runs. It's the longest street in town, and it runs the length of the town all the way over here. Now this is the more industrial part of town, and I want to talk for a minute here about sort of the practicalities of this whole concept and what we're doing with this town, because basically to get a town started, to reach the first milestone, I had to put in place, a couple of the basic pieces of infrastructure you need for a town in Cities Skylines, right? Water, electricity, those kinds of things. And I needed to find a way to do them somewhat realistically. And so I actually started this town. The very first thing I put down was this beautiful little asset I found in the workshop. The only thing I put down here myself are these chain link fences on the sides and the bushes around it. And I put some decals here on the cement to make it look more worn down. Added in this truck, a little bit of trash, make it look a little more authentic. I may have even put this shed in here. I can't remember. But this is a great little asset, and it's a fantastic way to start out your city with electricity. It provides something like 8 megawatts or something like that. And I really sort of lucked out because as I was running the simulation after this, so I let the game run for a little bit, this provides exactly the amount of electricity I need to power all of these buildings. In fact, I have a couple of homes here that have some rolling blackouts, but it's just like these 6 homes or so. Everything else gets electricity from this building. It's really fantastic. So, but definitely, like, before next episode, one of the first things I'm going to have to do is expand on my electrical grid. And I think there's room to just put down 1 or 2 more of these, right, and have it still look realistic. I might need to look into it a little bit more to get a better feel for if that's something you would see in real life, that you'd see multiple things like this next to each other. But I think I could probably get away with that. So, that's something I'm kind of thinking about. Now, for water, obviously, we got this water tower, which is just, I knew right away that was going to be a centerpiece of the city, right? Whoops. Can't control this thing. Just look at it. It's just iconic, tallest building in the city. You can see it from everywhere. So that provides the city with water, and probably will do for another few episodes. The sewage pipe, I stuck down here. Now, this one I actually had a little bit of trouble with, because I cannot for the life of me find a better replacement for this on the workshop to start a city, right? All in all, I think even the vanilla output here it's a good asset. It looks pretty realistic in terms of how worn down it is, the coloring, everything. It's a great asset. It's mostly just that it's really big and it's hard to hide, and I'm not even 100% sure how these kinds of facilities look in real life. So, I just sort of stuck that under the train tracks for now. And I figured in any case that is, not really a core part of the town. So I just sort of stuck it off here and connected it with these sort of rural looking telephone poles or electrical poles. So that was it for my basic utilities. Once I hit the first milestone, though, the one thing I've done since I hit the first milestone was put in some garbage collecting services, because I know that becomes a problem like right away, right? So I put in a couple of things. I put in this little bad boy here. Which basically just looks like the trash for this building, right? But it sends out a dump truck to collect trash around town. And unfortunately, it fills up really quick, so I might need to go into the asset editor and see if I can tweak it a little bit so that it can take a little bit more trash, right? Because I need it to tide me over for a little bit. And the other one I put in is this one, which has a bit more capacity and puts out 2 or 3 trucks when you have the budget turned all the way up. So, that's the trash collection in town. I didn't really want to put down a big old landfill anywhere. That didn't really feel appropriate just yet. So, for now, we're going to make do with these kinds of small assets, and we'll see sort of how it feels as we're going along. Let's take a look at the center part of town here and what I did around here, because this is where sort of all the shops are. Right? And I even used a couple of vanilla assets here, like this Sally's Diner. That's a vanilla asset. This is a vanilla asset that I just removed the billboards for on top of the building. This Coin Laundry is a vanilla asset. So I did find a few buildings here that really worked for the feeling that I was going for, and I didn't want to put down too much commercial. I basically just wanted to surround this one intersection with commercial, and that was it. And then go from there according to demand. And I knew that industrial demand is usually a little bit higher at the beginning of the game, so I wanted to even put some industrial buildings right downtown. And I did that with this. This is an industrial building. This is a vanilla industrial building that I stuck down here. Just sort of looks like a basic warehouse. Let me see, where's the other one? The other one is this. Made that look like also some sort of storage house of some kind, and I surrounded it with this awesome rusty metal fence. I just love that thing. I'm really happy I found that. Added a few decals to make it look a little bit more realistic, and so I even put a little bit of industry right downtown like that, and then of course we moved right into residential after that. Now, it's going to be a little bit tricky Because I've mixed residential with industrial and commercial so much all over the place, it's going to be a little bit tricky because, you know, in the game, people get so sick from the pollution, right? They get sick from being right around industrial zones. One of the very next things I'm going to have to do for the next episode is put down some kind of healthcare facility, because there is none in town at all right now, right? If you need healthcare, you have to drive probably an hour or two somewhere. So that's going to be my next step for sure, and I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to be able to handle it moving forward. But I'm going to find a way. What I'm hoping is that as long as there's a health facility and people can get healthcare when they get sick, there won't be too many complaints, right? People will just fill up the beds in the medical facilities, and that way we'll be able to do a little bit more realistic zoning around mixing those three things. If not, though, we'll find another solution. We'll have to see. Maybe I can use Rico to repurpose specific buildings but still have the look I need. We'll have to see. But certainly, like, this part of town moving out here is the more industrial side of things. You got these rows of warehouses here. I'm actually just noticing today for the first time the purple pollution color, which, I sort of on purpose, I didn't disable it. And now I'm kind of wondering if maybe I should have. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Does this look like really weird that there's purple here? Should I leave it? Maybe I should just remove it. I'm not sure exactly why the game does purple. We should did something else. We should just got muddy or gray or brown or I don't know, something. And then, I even put a few 3 residential houses right here to mix it up a little bit. And I even have a few houses around town that are still being built. This is a construction site, basically. They're living in this trailer, building their house for now. And where do I got a few more of those? I got a few more of those here. Now, for the housing in town, I actually found that the housing that comes with the university, for the campus DLC, is just perfect for a town like this. I mean, I don't know, the makers of Cities Skylines must have just assumed that people in college and university just like to live terribly, right? Because just these buildings that are supposed to be, buildings for college students and university students, they just look terrible, right? The windows are all boarded up. There's trash in the yard. And I just thought they were. Let me see if I can find some others that are really good examples that I didn't tweak too much. Let's see. All of these are from the workshop. Okay, but like this, this swing set and this grass here. No, actually, I can't remember how much of this now is vanilla and how much of it isn't. But they were really great houses to work with for this kind of town. I also liked their sort of dark color for this purpose. I found a lot of buildings certainly in the vanilla game and also in the workshop tend to be a little bit bright for sort of the heavy dark feeling that I was going for here. But then, of course, I also took a lot of buildings off the workshop for residential, used a lot of King Leno's buildings. I know he's done some sort of similarly themed things of like rundown towns, and right? So he made some pretty amazing assets for sort of lower income towns like this, with signs that say keep out, that kind of stuff. And then I also took a couple of his assets and made some subsidized housing, some sort of like the only row of apartments in town, basically. And then this whole row here as well. And I really sort of finished that off with some trash decoration around it. That would be, where they dump their trash and things. And then I wanted to sort of recreate that feel, but with a different asset over here. And so this is also a building I pulled off the workshop, but I just put them all in a row, and it really sort of has the same effect. So I really liked that a lot. And then the one big thing I just did all over the place was decals, and more decals. Holy smokes. I mean, I had to do it for the leaves, right? Because it's fall. So you can see there's, it's not the best spot to see maybe, but you can see there's like lots of leaves around from all these trees that have lost their leaves. But I also use lots and lots of dirt decals. All of this sort of gray stuff that you see around here, that's all, I put that in there by hand. And I think sort of a real guiding principle I had was to blend, right? To blend everything, because, you know, the vanilla game, it just has such stark contrasts between assets and between buildings and between parts of town. So you can see here I didn't blend all that well, right? I left it in certain places, because you do get places where you just have concrete and then all of a sudden it's just grass, right? A little bit of dirt maybe. So I left it in a couple of places like this, but then I used a lot of dirt decals to blend things in a little bit more. I used a lot of mud to sort of soften these edges and make it feel a little bit more realistic. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to touch on. The cars that I downloaded, some of them are a little bit fancy for this kind of town, right? I think there's even a smart car floating around here somewhere. That's a little bit funny to have in a town like this, but they are better than the vanilla cars. And here we go. Here's a smart car. Although it kind of works over here, right? In the nicer part of town. That works for me. No complaints. Yeah, so I think there's a decent variety of cars in here that I like. Okay, I didn't fence off all of the housing because, in just such a rundown town, you're not going to get, not all of the houses are going to get fenced off. They're going to have this sort of forlorn open look, where it's not really clear whose is whose and what's what, right? And then there's a few other plots here where, obviously this guy has some sort of business. It's almost like a mini farm, but not quite. And then, of course, in the wealthier part of town, almost everyone has a real clear fence, a real clear border to their property. I liked this brick one in particular I found that I put around this house. And yeah, sort of a guiding principle with the fences that I used for most of the houses was to have something nice like this out front. And I think this is actually a fence from, this is the amusement park fence or something from the Parks DLC. And then I put a wooden fence from the workshop around the backside, decorated with some trees. Bada bing, bada boom, done. All right. One of the cooler things that I sort of discovered that I did was I used the prop line tool and took this dirt decal and basically turned it into a little path. Now, nobody's going to use this path, right? I haven't unlocked pedestrian pathways just yet, but I was able to use this design, add this design element to make it clear that, people do walk down through these fields to the river to go hang out there. Probably when the weather is nicer, not in the middle of autumn like this. But and it was just it was just the perfect decal for it. It was just faded enough that it looks like it's part of the grass, but that it's clear that people have walked here. And it just trailed off really nicely into the trees, into the rock textures down here. So I put those in a couple of places. And I think it just really added to the place, made it feel like people really do live here, So I really liked that. So this is the town of Amity. If you want to, we can just turn it on for a minute here, and you can see that it is a fully functioning town, except for, oh boy, people are already getting sick. Right, that's going to be a pretty major problem I'm going to have to deal with right away. And like I said, this garbage facility fills up really quickly. But yeah, other than that, it's a completely functioning town, all ready for work to begin for episode 2. So definitely tell me what you guys think. Did you like it? Are you looking forward to the next parts? Where do you see this city going? Do you have suggestions? Would you like me to rename a street after you? Hit me up in the comments below. Click subscribe if you like this and you're looking forward to the parts to come. And love to talk to you guys. Get in touch with you guys. Hear what you think. Anyway, I'm looking forward to working on episode 2. And I will see you guys there. Have a great New Year, guy. guys. Nice 2021. Hopefully it's a little better than last year. All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.